All right, this afternoon we're going to change the oil in our Monterey boat. It has a 5.7 liter Mercruiser engine, which is basically a GM engine. You don't have access to the drain plug on this motor because it is on the back of the motor without removing parts of the boat. So we're going to do it with an oil extractor that we have right here, and we're going to use that through the dipstick, which is right here. So the first thing you do is you pull out the dipstick, and you get your oil extractor, and you're going to thread the oil extractor down the dipstick. And it will take a little bit of time because you have to reach the bottom of the oil pan, but you will feel it bottom out on the bottom of the oil pan. When it bottoms out, you'll hear it make a noise when it hits the bottom, and you'll also feel it stop. Once you've done that, you'll begin to pump the extractor pump, and you'll begin to see oil flowing through the line. This will take about 10 to 15 minutes to complete, as we have about 5 quarts of oil, which will fill up to about this part mark right here. So you have to continually monitor the pump to make sure the oil continues to flow. When it gets air, you'll hear it sucking air, and you will have to continue to pump the pump. So we're going to do that. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. All right, now we've finished pumping all the oil out. We're going to go ahead and remove our dipstick extractor tube, place it in a rag so we don't make a mess. And now we're going to remove the oil filter. Get your appropriate oil filter wrench, place it on the head of a ratchet, place that on the oil filter, and very carefully you'll go ahead and begin to remove it. Once you get it loose, you're going to want to do the rest by hand. Have a couple of rags ready, as it does have oil in it, and it will overflow. All right, you're always going to have a little bit of spill just based on the design, so you're going to want to go ahead and clean all that first. It will drain on the block. Also, don't be surprised if when you start it up on the first time, you do have some smoking. That's normal, as the oil will have drained onto the exhaust manifold, get very hot, and begin to smoke. Try to get as much as you can up. That way you'll minimize that. One of the things that you want to do before you install your oil filter is you're going to take some fresh oil, and you're going to want to put that on the rubber gasket here. Don't need a whole lot, but just enough to coat it, give it a nice seal on your motor. Some people fill your oil filter, some people don't. I don't fill my oil filter, but that is a pure personal preference. With this type of mount, it would probably be a little bit messy putting it on due to the configuration of the oil filter being down. Hand tighten this as tight as you can by hand, and then take your ratchet. Don't over tighten it, but make sure that you give it a good snug. Now that your oil filter is snug, now it's time to add the oil. You'll add the oil right here. You can see it's labeled. We are using marine grade Quicksilver oil for this, and 25W40. That is what's spec for this motor. This is a 1 gallon container. The specs on the motor say that it takes 5 quarts, so we're going to go ahead, put the 4 quarts in, and then check the oil on the dipstick when we're done. Can't pour oil on a funnel. I shouldn't be doing this, huh? All right, so we've put the 4 quarts in. We're going to insert the dipstick to make sure, see where we are. I assume that it's going to read low. That's also saying that we haven't filled up our oil filter, which will occur when we start the motor. We're going to just check it to see where we are. It'll be a little bit more difficult to see since this is fresh oil, but we should be able to see some. You can see we're in the range right now. It's a little bit, do a double check on it. I want to make sure that you get the dipstick all the way and push it all the way to the end before you pull it out to check. This is reading that it is right at the full. However, we also know that we haven't filled that up, which I reckon that this will take about another half a quart to do that. Tony, you said that this was spec'd between 4.5 and 5 quarts, correct?
Correct.
So what we're going to do is we are going to put another half a quart in, and then we are going to start it, and we will check it after everything cools tomorrow. But right now we have an extra quart here. It's 32 ounces, so we're going to go ahead and put that to the 16 ounce mark. It will show a little high on the dipstick, but we're going to go ahead and start it real quick to make sure that we get the oil circulating through the oil filter in the entire engine. And then tomorrow, before they take the boat out, they will double check to see if they need to add a little bit more. All right, we added approximately 12 ounces, 8 to 12 ounces of oil. I know I said that we were going to do 16. It's better to be a little bit less in your oil. You can always add a little bit tomorrow. We're going to go ahead and check this again, make sure that our oil is in an acceptable level. Based upon my assumption, I believe that will be a little bit high, but when we start the motor and they check it tomorrow, it will be very close to where it needs to be. As you can see, it's just above the okay range line, which is right here. That's pretty good. I think that once we start the motor, it will suck that down, as it will be filled into the oil filter, and they will have to add probably about 4 ounces tomorrow. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and start the motor to make sure that our oil change was successful. The first thing that you wanna look at here is this oil pressure gauge. It is perfectly normal when it first starts that you won't have any pressure, but after about 10 to 20 seconds, you should notice the pressure jump to a normal operating range, which should be just above 40. As we see that up, we know that the engine is building pressure in the oil. That is a good sign. It means it's flowing throughout the motor. We will go ahead and give it a little bit of fuel just to see. We want to see that needle jump a little bit. And then eventually it will work its way back down. You know, all gauges in boats, they get stuck sometimes, so tap it and make sure it's good. That's in a normal operating range, which means that our oil is in a good spot.